There's a little chav on a bike trying to impress people out the front. We're going to let him go past first. Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello, creepy friends. Welcome to Nixie Bobs and welcome to a new week. Hopefully a better week. Because last week was horrific. Oh, you couldn't have had a worse week if you'd have tried, honestly. Just everything in my life, technology-wise, went wrong. It was a horrible week. However, the little lad at the end of the tunnel was seeing that 10-second Thunderbirds Argo promo, which I think all of us who watch both this and love the original are talking about. The hat was everything, was it not? And then the hand, and then the craft, and people think we're getting Jeff, and we've had Carano mentioned in there. I don't know what's going on anymore. In the most wonderful of ways, quoting Carol from the new series of Walking Dead, we will find out more. I'm sure there's going to be a big long trailer going on, coming up at some point. Not right now, obviously. Autumn's going to be busy as hell, I think. We've got The Walking Dead, we're going to find out who died, we've got Thunderbirds Are Go, we've possibly got this thing that we're going to talk about now coming up at Christmas. Just madness. Hawaii Five-0 as well, I love that, I think that's amazing. Just busyness, 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 busyness. However, we are here today to talk about the second episode of the Thunderbirds 1965 revival, which was the Abominable Snowman. I've held out on this for a little while. I've been trying to kind of pace myself in anticipation for Thunderbirds Are Go. So, in Abominable Snowman, we open up to a big fire at a uranium plant and seemingly no hope. Q version Scott flying in on Thunderbirds 1 and 2. They save the day, but it turns out this could be one in a series. Now, did anybody catch that first news segment coming into that episode? Did you see it? It's worded differently, it's spoken differently. The way that the vocal actors use things is different. Back in the 60s, there was very much a, can you do this? Can you do it? Like, I can't even describe it, but there was an older style way of talking that only seems to be in things made in sort of that older, like, I think it kind of changed in about the 70s, but like from 60s, 50s, 40s, there was a distinctly different way of talking and it wasn't spoken that way. So correct me if I'm wrong, 1965, but I believe that that newscaster, the NTB reporters, they are called the NTB reporters. I'm pretty sure that's new footage, but do correct me someone if I'm wrong. I don't think I am. I mean, after all, I'm a woman. When am I wrong? Kidding. Kidding puddings. We're getting Suicide Squad in there as well. Why was people so harsh on that movie? I loved it. So then we flick to John, and he is obviously in Thunderbirds 5, and he overhears a radio transcast, or transcast, is that a word I just made up, of someone saying they think they've encountered the Abominable Snowman. Okay then. Between Jeff and John, we learn that people are missing as a result of the Abominable Snowman. But Jeff is sceptical about the chances of it actually existing, as of course he is, as I think we all are. It's a legend, much like Bigfoot, much like the Loch Ness Monster. Even in future 1960s Thunderbirds world, might not be real. Coincidentally, of course, Lady Penelope is in the area, and Jeff decides to dispatch her to investigate up at Everest to see what's going on, because it can't hurt. The scene of Penny and Parker with Gallop Din is important for two core reasons. First is because he was based on Sanjeev Baksar, who is a lifelong fan, so great for you, I'm jealous, I want to have a Thunderbirds puppet based on me. How would they base a Thunderbirds puppet on myself as someone who loves vintage? They might as well just make a puppet and then just, I don't know, I'm just fantasizing there. He's the first new puppet made in 50 years of Thunderbirds, and that is incredible that they have taken the time to make this puppet. And he has respectable eyebrows, can I just add. But number two is I'm going to be careful with how I word this, but I think I've touched on it in previous kind of vintage episodes. I don't ever actually remember seeing a character in the original episodes that was a character of colour or of a different ethnicity. I mean, we have Kirano and we have Tintin, and in accordance with what I found on Wiki, they are of Malaysian descent, so they would come in a more oriental appearance, which is the impression we naturally get from their puppets. It's not a thing of racism. I don't want anyone to think that, and please someone correct me if I'm wrong. I've watched the vintage episodes over and over again many times, and I just don't ever remember seeing it. You know, I could be wrong. I tried to research this, but I found nothing about it. But it is the time as well. Obviously, back in the 60s, times were changing. We weren't as a multicultural society as we are today. So please do correct me if I'm wrong there, because I don't want to offend anyone. But just thinking about it, I'm pretty sure I've never seen that. So Gallop Din is very important for me as a character. Very important. And I think he should be for everybody else too. So Gallop Din gives Penelope a guide to take her up to Everest, but of course we see a photo of the guide and... Come on guys, who was it? The Hood. We know it's the Hood. The Hood in disguise, as usual, master of disguise. Ironically enough, much like Lady Penelope, how many times has Lady Penelope disguised herself up? Random things going through the tangenting brain of Nixie. You guys are well aware of this by now. So of course Penelope and Parker, left alone with the Hood, the first chance he gets, he tries to take him down in a plane. Tries to kill him. Of course he's going to try and kill him. He's the Hood. All he wants is Thunderbird secrets. So really he's more trying to injure them as opposed to hurting them. Didn't think that one through, did I? In the crash, Penelope hurts her ankle, which causes her to not be able to walk much further. Shot of a real foot there. Loved it. Gotta love the real limb shots, haven't you, as opposed to the normal puppet hand shots. The Hood / guide, liar guide, decides to take Parker off to see the Abominable Snowman's footsteps while Penelope rests. Now in the ice cave, Parker finds a steel door, which naturally Hood goes, a steel door in an ice cave, what's that doing there? Yes, got everyone wigging and all. Parker foolishly walks through it and finds that the Hood has slaves digging for uranium. Now this is where all the people missing are. They've probably been hypnotised by Hoodie and are digging for his uranium. So obviously and naturally for a Thunderbirds episode, the Hood reveals all his plans to Parker and then seals him in the little unit, which causes Parker to take out something I've never seen Parker use on an episode of Thunderbirds. He gets out this little snuff box and it turns out he's kind of got a little compact thing as well to contact Lady Penelope with. How you get a signal in an ice cave, not so sure. But the point is it's in the future. They must have like signals running through everywhere, you know. We won't question that. So Penelope has been warned that the guide isn't who he says he is. In turn, Penelope tells Jeff, which has Jeff obviously launch Obvious Peoples for rescue, Scott and Virgil I believe it was. With Alan in the background, didn't say anything, just standing there in the background. But we had Alan, where was Gordon? I didn't see me any Gordon. So the Hood returns and for a few minutes Penelope plays dumb, saying, oh really, really, oh that's a shame. And then, you know, having virtually no reaction when he tells her Parker died. And then, of course, she says, I know Parker's not dead. You're a liar. Penelope's got a gun. Bang, bang. Bang, bang. Green Day's new song. Anyone heard that? Yeah, it's amazing. Penelope may have a gun, but the Hood has his little freaky bang on eye power. Instant KO on Penelope. And I mean knockout, not Kevin Owens. So when Penelope wakes up again, she's tied to a board being threatened by what I think is some kind of heat laser. Essentially, he's threatening to decapitate Lady Penelope right here, right now, which is kind of scary. And I don't know how modern day people would feel about letting their kids watch that kind of violence. That's probably why they took the guns out of the newer series. So he's threatening to kill her unless she talks about international rescue, which Penelope is not gonna do. He even turns on his freaky yellow eyes trying to get her to do it, but she's still tight-lipped. Amazing Lady Penelope, amazing strength, and again showing the tenacity of someone so beyond a 1960s woman. Because, you know, all right, it's a future woman, but women weren't perceived that way, and I say this all the time. Jerry Anderson making things like that so ahead of his time. Just as Lady Penelope is about to feel the burn and get her little neck hurt, in comes Scott with a gun. And a cool winter international rescue suit quilted that we've never ever seen used before. How amazing was that? I've never seen like a quilted winter wear international rescue costume. So Scott shoots the Hood down and then looks at the station going, how do I turn it off? Find the main power button. I can't do it. So what does he do? He just takes his gun and shoots the hell out of it. Way. Love that. Of course, poor old Parker arrives a second too late to save Penelope. And it turns out that to escape from that chamber where all the uranium's being looked for, he used some of Penelope's hairpins. Another little real shot there. Just when it all looks good, Hood wakes up because it turns out that Scott's gun wasn't a gun, it was actually a tranquilizer gun. And we're going to get onto that gun in a minute because there's a little bit of a plot hole there that we missed. Hood wakes up, says that they're never going to get out alive, sets fire to the chamber with his gun. Everyone's like, run, we got to get out. Who died laughing at the running? The little puppet running. Who died laughing at that? Come on, that was comedy gold. I love those moments where the puppets have got to do things like that. It never ever fails to tickle me. So Scott has obviously arrived first because Thunderbird 1 is faster than Thunderbird 2, but just as Virgil's arriving, Scott sends him away. Scott sends him away because with the blast and the fire, he doesn't want Virgil to get hurt, he doesn't want Thunderbird 2 to go boom. And then somehow, Penelope, Parker and Scott all end up in Thunderbird 1. Even though we're in a fleeing scene, Scott has managed to change his outfit from the nice padded winter suit back into his normal Thunderbirds outfit and hat and take off just as everything goes boom. Where were all the people, the uranium slaves? Oopsie, did we blow them up too? So we see from a last shot of Scott and Virgil communicating with Jeff back at base that obviously Penelope and Parker are safe with Scott in the craft. We're not quite sure how that all happened, especially since Penelope was supposed to have hurt her leg and suddenly she's running and jumping on a craft. The legend of the Abominable Snowman is gone. The Hood has escaped yet again. Typical thing for a Thunderbirds episode. Everything we expect. We've had explosions. We've had good plot lines. We've had a couple of plot holes. So the main thing really I was interested with this one. We knew introducing Thunderbirds was a lot shorter. But it was interesting to see just how short this episode would be as opposed to a standard episode. So a standard episode as we know it is between 40, sometimes 45 minutes long. This one had a running time of just shy of half an hour, so it cuts off maybe 10 to 15 minutes of a standard episode. I didn't feel like those 15 minutes were missing. Thinking about it, all it did really was just cut off some of the middleman, which is sometimes crafts launching, main bits that we've seen a million times, some things that we kind of don't need repeated to us again, I guess. I think that maybe having the shorter episode did work. It made things a little bit quicker paced. I always have to laugh as well when they paint sweat and like put little sweat beads on the puppets' heads. That always entertains me as well. And then when you have the distinct face change, because you have the happy face and then you have the serious angry face. And we saw Virgil's quite a lot actually, and Scott's. It was quite funny. Penelope has a really good one-liner in here that I really liked, which was abominable or otherwise. I just really liked that. There was just something about that line that just made me go, oh, good Penelope moment. Now, through researching bits for this episode, I wanted to find out. I originally thought that Sanjeev Bhaskar, I originally had thought that he had voiced Gallop Din, but it turns out that actually Parker, aka David Graham, voiced him and made that voice real. I did not know that. I also did not know that David Graham voiced Carano, which is even more impressive. I mean, that kind of vocal talent is insane, and the fact that he's still voicing Parker for us in TBAG is amazing. What a talent that guy is. I've mentioned this before, but I guess it's from watching TBAG and looking at the way that they've changed the entrances into crafts. It makes me sit here and just wonder exactly how safe it was for Virgil to slide down into Thunderbird 2 the way he did. I mean, he's literally, his head is at the brace bit here, but he's got nothing supporting his legs. And I'm just looking at that now and looking at the way they've got kind of that harness they put on him until he jumps down into the craft. How did Virgil not fall and seriously injure himself in those original episodes? My goodness. The Hood's eyebrows sure are something, aren't they? What are the Hood's eyebrows? I mean, looking at them again, that when he stripped off all his disguise and the Hood was revealed, just those, I was just looking at it going, whoa, those were some eyebrows. Serious eyebrows. Really amazing eyebrows. As with this episode, I mentioned I knew that the NTB peoples at the start were kind of a new feat, were kind of a new shot. I'm pretty convinced they are. It was interesting again comparing, introducing where I was looking for the stock shot or stock footage of shots and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure the only piece of stock footage I actually saw in this episode was where Scott launches and switches to horizontal flight when he's going out to Everest to save Lady Penelope. I'm pretty sure that's the only bit of stock footage I found, and again, all I'm basing that on is purely because, as I've said, Scott has two heads across the original series of Thunderbirds, and it changes at some point and he gets like his eyebrows tweezed. In the footage of obviously the transition of flight, he's got the older head on, and then we have the newer head on in a different, later on in the flight pan. So that's how I can tell that that bit maybe wasn't new footage, but again, I'm happy to be corrected if I'm wrong. Do correct me if I'm wrong here. Little bit of an Easter egg for you guys, and maybe some of you have seen it if you followed the progress of 1965. There's a good little outtake in the ice chamber scene between Hood and Penelope, where he's "Speak now, Lady Penelope." That kind of, "Oh, you will never speak again," and he turns around and literally his head falls off his body and just goes whoop into the air. Go and search the 1965 YouTube channel for that. It may actually even be on the DVD. That was a complete funny episode. I showed that to my dad while it was being made before we even got the discs, and he just rolled up. It was such a good little outtake, and it just shows that don't work with pets, don't work with children. Puppets are just as blooming difficult sometimes. Now, the gun. Scott used a tranquilizer gun, he says, to take out the Hood. So how does he then use the same gun to shoot up the Hood's control panel, controlling the beam that's going to decapitate Lady Penelope? Leave a comment. Let's create. Let's find out why that could happen. Go on, let's have some fun. That was Abominable Snowman, another amazing episode. I love this episode. It's definitely a classic episode, and again, to have that physical copy when you've heard that transcript for so many years, especially if you were an original fan, must be an amazing thing for you guys. It's amazing for me to see it as a fan, as a more newer fan, I guess. We now only have one episode left to review, which is the Stately Home Robberies, and I will obviously try and pace that out. TVAG is slated for an autumn release, so I'm reckoning maybe the October-November mark, and it is going to transfer, it's going to go from 2016 to 17. I thought it was 26 episodes, but I've read 30 somewhere, so do correct me if I'm wrong there. Obviously, once that comes to pass, we'll have the weekly TVAG episode reviews back, and obviously Vintage will take a shelf until we're either in a mid-season break or an end-of-series break. If you are going to the screening of these 3 episodes that I'm discussing right now, have a great time. I'm jealous of you guys, but enjoy yourselves. Make sure you big it up to the news and TV peoples that are there, because it is amazing. 1965 are amazing. You guys have done so well with this. You really, really have. Thank you everyone for being here and watching me chat and rabbit about this lovely little thing we all love called Thunderbirds. If you would like to subscribe to the channel, please do. I would love to have you join my little creepy friendship party. We seem to have a load more people joining in. I can't believe I suddenly just jumped from one amount to this amount in like weeks. It's had SummerSlam this weekend, so that's coming out, and then there's other stuff going on. Christ knows what. This little thing came behind me, but some of you Thunderbirds fans won't be as into makeup as me, so never mind. I will see you again for more videos of just about anything going on in my little life. Bye everyone.